Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar today. The objective of today is to kind of take you through some of the stuff the team has been working on over the last few weeks, specifically focused on some of the requests we've received from a lot of our customers on how can we help given the kind of shifting landscapes in trade policy over the last few weeks. We've had customers both from Europe, Canada, the United States, and kind of all over the place really be asking us, given the information we have on their operations, on production, on connections we have to their ERP systems and different on-site systems, how do we help them make sense of what's going on? How do we help them understand the impact that some of these changes might have? And how do we help them more specifically navigate the uncertainty that both they're feeling themselves and that they're seeing in the market over the coming weeks and months? And so the kind of kicking it off, we're really facing some uncertain times. There's not really a clear understanding of the objective for most governments on these changes and rapid changes in trade policy. I mean, the last 25 years of breaking down trade barriers has really started to end with globally integrated supply chains and companies really getting used to being able to get what they need from wherever is best. We're now entering a place where companies are going to be looking to really focus on, sourcing goods locally, but also with the existing supply chains that are in place, companies are kind of left understanding, depending on how long these tariffs stay in place, depending on how long these negotiations last, how do they and their customers really respond to this crisis effectively and really build an effective foundation and infrastructure within their business to make the right decisions in order to protect what matters most, which might be, revenue or cash flow or inventory or stock positions or production decisions around what to produce or what investments to make within their facilities. So if we just take the example of steel, I mean, yesterday, the tariffs on steel that came in have now ricocheted around the world, both through retaliatory tariffs, but also if we're looking at kind of the flow of goods. Steel and also especially aluminum are such critical imports to huge sections of the economy, especially if we're talking about manufacturing. It's one of the kind of core inputs to a lot of different industrial processes. Also, if you're a machine builder, we're not just talking about end consumer goods. If you're manufacturing anything, even if it's only for the domestic market, you might find the equipment you're looking to purchase is now more expensive. You might find it difficult to source suppliers for different pieces of equipment. So this really is one of the most broad-ranging tariffs. I mean, aluminum imports into the US come the vast majority from Canada, almost 60% from the province of Quebec alone. And there's a lot of uncertainty on where that's going to go over the next few weeks and months should these tariffs stay in place. And again, there's not a lot of certainty on the objectives from different governments on when they would have those tariffs removed or what conditions they would be looking for. So it's really key that we can understand this impact on our operations as a business, but also looking forward, if these tariffs are going to stay in place or if they change, how can we make the best decision given the opportunities that would be presented to us? From our perspective and through working with our customers, we've broadly seen this broken down at an executive level into kind of three key pillars. The first being customers. So understanding, how is this going to impact my revenue? Where do I have the most leverage with my customers to kind of retain those relationships? Be it we're producing specialized product lines that are very hard to source out from other suppliers, or is it just that we have such a long-standing relationship, or we're already at a competitive advantage? And where are we least advantaged with our customers? What revenue is the most at risk? Maybe it's new customers. Maybe it's customers where we have contracts that are coming up for expiry. Maybe we're on short-term order notice for particular products. So those relationships might be more fragile and something we're more likely to lose given these tariffs are coming in over the next few weeks. The second is understanding the effect on production lines. Maybe we've made investments on new equipment that affect product lines that are heavily going to be impacted by these tariff and trade policy regulations. Maybe we need to scale back production on particular requirements. Maybe we need to keep track of what inventory we're going to produce. Do we want to be stockpiling inventory of products, or do we want to be keeping that inventory at a minimum because we need to protect cash? All of these are decisions that as a business we need to be making quickly and efficiently. And as every day goes past and these more and more of these tariffs come into effect, it's more and more critical to understand this from the perspective of production and operations. The third then being supply chain. Material requirements planning is always something that's on a long-term horizon. I mean, one of our customers is producing products with ingredients that have a 6 to 9 month, lead time. They got to ship them all the way from South America. So you're not going to be able to source that quickly. And if you need to buy for next year now, you really want to know how much you're buying so that you can meet the expected demand you're likely to have from your customers quickly. And so from our perspective, we really think data is the way companies are going to get through this. They need to understand this from an analytical perspective, but they also need to see this not just from the perspective of the data that they have today, but the data that can be generated by their teams as they work to navigate the new challenges businesses are going to face over the next 6 to 8 months. And I really want to take you through what this looks like practically. So our team has spent a lot of time with a number of our customers who are affected by this. And these are tools that we've derived based on their businesses. Everything you're seeing is a notional demo, but it's kind of very emblematic of the kind of challenges we've seen. And take a hard look at some of the distributions, as I'm sure they're very familiar to a lot of people on this call. All right. So the first step from our perspective of breaking this down is looking at, at-risk revenue. The first question our customers have is, how much of my outgoing revenue is now impacted by these tariffs? So this is an example of a Canadian supplier. And in their particular case, it was around 43%. Again, this data is notional, but the numbers are relatively real. And this is very emblematic of what we've seen across a large number of our Canadian customers. And so the question is, given the substantial impact, in this case, over the next 6 months to this particular customer's business across a range of different product lines, how can they understand both on an individual order basis and on a customer basis this impact and quantify it in terms of business decisions? So we might have customers where all of these are firm orders. So the customers are not going to be canceling them, and we can lock in that revenue and maintain production schedules for those products. Other products might be something that are only make to order, and we're working off of demand forecasts that have been sent from our sales team. Do we want to renegotiate those contracts, or do we want to get in touch with those customers and make sure that they're still looking to source those products from us before we go through the costly investment maybe of building up inventory in advance of those orders? And so our customers were really focused on understanding, how do I make these decisions quickly? And how do I corral and collaborate across teams, both on the production side, the sales side, and the supply chain side to get that done while maintaining visibility for an executive level of that entire process? So the first step in that is breaking this down from an overview of the business to looking at, what are the constituent elements of this revenue that's now at risk? This is where we break into the customer tool. So you can imagine this as the kind of customer overview that's breaking down for every single customer, how much of that particular customer's revenue is impacted. Here we've taken the example of a supplier supplying Costco in the United States, where virtually all of that revenue is now at risk. And the first thing you can see here is the distribution of the revenue over the next few months. We've got a set of firm orders. These are orders that were either in progress when these tariffs came in or are already agreed and negotiated with the customer. So that's production that we can maintain. The next is pending orders. Now, this is where a lot of our customers' anxiety came from and where we've seen the most kind of critical decisions needing to be made, both hard decisions and also proactive decisions from customers. So a good example is a few weeks out, in this case on April 1st, this customer has a very large open order, but that order is currently pending and has not been marked as either firm or resolved. What does this mean for our particular customer? In this case, that might be an order that they need to build stock for over a number of weeks. It's something that they can't fulfill immediately, but the customer hasn't yet confirmed that order with them. And so what's needed from a perspective of an operations manager or even a chief financial officer is, how likely is this revenue to actually come in? Should we be making decisions like material requirements planning or forward thinking on production and start scheduling this in? Or should we be reaching out to this customer to either renegotiate this contract or have a more broad discussion about how they want to manage our relationship over the next 6 months? How this tool helps us with this is kind of pulling directly from our ERP, looking at all of the different products we have available and all of the different orders for this particular customer. Here you can see that order coming in on April 1st right here. So the first step in this process is, as a manager, I can go in and set this particular order to be pending negotiation. What this is going to do is going to flag this to my team as something we need to negotiate, and we need to reach out to this customer to get more information about whether or not this order is going to come through. As a manager, I can also give this a risk rating. So in this case, this might be a critical risk product. Maybe we really need that revenue because we've already procured the raw materials. And I can also enter a suggested price or a suggested haircut. So the gross price for this product is $250 currently per case. I'm going to offer to my teams the ability to renegotiate this all the way down to $200. What this is going to do is it's going to give my teams that kind of indication of where I'm willing to go as a manager in order to retain this revenue with a particular customer. What happens next is a customer is going to be able to go and move this into renegotiation. That renegotiation is going to drop into this section here. Now that the contract has been moved into the renegotiation phase, this is where it can be passed on to our sales team. So me as a sales exec can jump in here and say, okay, I can see my manager has flagged this particular order as high risk. Maybe we've already produced inventory for this order. Maybe this is an order where we've already procured the raw materials, or we've already set up our production lines to manufacture it. So we really want to lock this in with the customer. Let's say as well, I can see that they've given me a suggested price of $200 per case. I can now jump in and take a look and negotiating this order down with the customer. Now, let's say I can get them up to a gross price of $215, and I can see that I've negotiated to maintain the order quantity the same. Maybe my manager flagged that this is actually the most important piece because we already have this on inventory and we need to clear this product off our shelves. Here I can see that there's the new forecasted revenue, and I can drop in here and see that this is the new revenue for this particular product. I can see this has been removed from my at-risk revenue percentage, and it's been removed from my from the number of pending orders, which we need to now negotiate. So I can see it switched over here. So again, the purpose of this tool is to help manufacturers really understand, what can I do about this problem? How can I construct a workflow that allows my teams to take a structured approach to this, both for my domestic and international customers? And how can I maintain and track clarity in a rapidly moving environment of what orders are going to come into my business and what orders am I likely to maybe take a haircut on or lose altogether as we go farther and farther out into this time horizon? And that's really where this third section comes in. So here we're looking at a high-level overview of those remediation steps. Here we can see the number of contracts that we have outstanding, the total renegotiated contract revenue, and the total at-risk revenue we have outstanding. So here, as a manager, on a daily basis, me and my sales team can track all of those outstanding contracts and start to push for this renegotiation number to get as close as that to that at-risk revenue number as possible. It'll also give me forward visibility, potentially into the next 2, 3, 4 months, to start understanding, what's my cash flow position going to be? What's my inventory stock level need to be in order to meet this demand? Where do I need to maybe cut back or implement layoffs on particular product lines where we're not going to be producing that product because either the customer demand has dried up or we're not able to firm up orders going into the next few months? All of these critical decisions can now be made in a data-driven way using a tool like this. So that kind of wraps up the demonstration. We're going to open it up to questions now. I mean, I know there's a lot of people on this call that I've worked with closely in the past, but I really want to extend the opportunity here to ask more questions about the tool. I'll also mention that this is something that we're offering to manufacturers across North America free of charge. So we're offering it as a tool that we can connect to your ERP, where you can get these contract renegotiation workflows deployed into your teams as a part of our effort to support manufacturing on both sides of the border.